Welcome to the Close the Deal Show. I'm your host, Terrence McCrae. Every week we bring you business information, tips, and insights from entrepreneurs, business professionals, and inspired individuals from San Francisco Bay Area and beyond. The Close the Deal Show also features public announcements, Entrepreneur Week, and small businesses. And if you're looking for strategies to help you in business or educate the public, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we are talking about Entrepreneur Week. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to feature you all someone that has not only been incarcerated, someone that has not only lived a lavish lifestyle, someone that has not only been up, but has learned what falling is. This gentleman is making a difference in society, making a difference in communities, but making a difference all throughout the United States. From his own downfalls in life and being incarcerated in a federal prison, movies have been written about him. One in particular, because there's going to be another one after I introduce you to him, was something that Leonardo DiCaprio starred in. And I'm going to let the gentleman, Mr. Richard Bronson, the guest today of the show, who's going to talk about not only the movie, not only his transformation in life, but he's going to talk about how he wants to make a difference in the world, especially in America. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Richard.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for having me, Terrence.
Oh, it's a pleasure in having you. This is Entrepreneur Week, and what we like to do is feature the underdog. And I like the fact that when I met you the other day, you told me some things about you that I never would have ever imagined. And actually, you mentioned a movie was written about you, because I don't want to tell all your story. I want the people that watch this show hear your story. What was the movie?
The movie was called The Wolf of Wall Street,
And
and I was a partner at that firm. I used to work on Wall Street, and initially I worked at some very big, so-called legitimate firms, and then I made the move to this much smaller firm in New York called Stratton Oakmont, and I became a partner there. And everybody wants to know, was the movie accurate? Was that the way things were there? And yeah, for the most part, it was. Nobody looks as good as they do in a Martin Scorsese film, of course. But as far as the behavior, the craziness, the drugs, the wildness, the money, that was all pretty accurate.
so tell me, how did you create this company called 70 Million Jobs? As far as how did your background and life experience influence 70 million jobs into a business?
Okay, this is going to be, this answer will take a minute or two. So I was working at this firm, Stratton Oakmont, where I was a partner. I left that firm and I started my own firm in South Florida, and I grew it to a very large firm and a very successful firm. We had about 500 people working for us, and we were generating about $100 million a year in annual revenue. Needless to say, I made a lot of money. But unfortunately, some of what I was doing was wrong. Wrong in the sense that it was illegal. I have no excuses. I knew it was wrong then. I was greedy. I was stupid. I was impatient. And despite the fact that I paid everybody back, I still was punished, rightfully so, for what I had done there. In any event, I went from being a rich, successful, famous guy who everybody knew, driving Ferraris and living in a mansion on the beach, and I went from there to all the way down to the bottom, where I was essentially destitute. Like most people who go through the criminal justice system, I came out of prison with nothing. I was basically homeless. I had no job, no money, no opportunities, and no idea what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And literally, it took me years to figure things out. I didn't know where I should begin and what I should try to do. I ended up working at a very prominent nonprofit that works in the reentry space called Defy Ventures. which you, of course, know about, Terrence. Defy is a wonderful organization because it works with men and women both in prison and once they've been released. And they help them learn, among other things, entrepreneurialism so that when they get out, they can maybe start their own business and be successful on their own. I was the director in New York, and it was very satisfying work, but eventually I felt like I wanted to do more. The whole reentry space in general, the way it's operated, is the way it operates now is the way it's been operating for the last 50 years. There's no technology that's involved, and there's just a lot of really terrific people working at really well-meaning nonprofits and community organizations, but they exist on a local level. And I wanted to do something nationally. I wanted to do something that would get a lot of people employed. You see, the reason why employment's so important is that if a man or woman does not get a job right away when they're released from jail or prison, the chances are incredibly high that they're going to return very, very quickly. On the other side, however, if they get a job, chances are things are going to have a very happy ending. So what we're talking about here is recidivism, and I wanted to tackle it head on. And I felt like this was crying out for a for-profit approach as opposed to a non-profit approach, the way it's been done all along. I also thought there was a great business opportunity as well. So I left my nonprofit gig and I launched 70 Million Jobs in New York. Almost immediately, the city of Los Angeles asked to partner with me. So I worked with the city out of the mayor's office. And then I was recruited, talking about entrepreneurialism, to participate in Y Combinator, which Y Combinator is probably the most successful and well-known accelerator program in the world. They make early stage investments, and then they take terrific companies like Airbnb and Dropbox and Stripe and Reddit, and our little company as well. And they help these companies grow quickly, and they provide all kinds of mentorship and resources and funding opportunities. It's an incredible program. I went through that, I came out, and I knew I was on the right path. So we are set out to match up all of this terrific ignored talent, people with records, with large national companies who are desperate to fill jobs. That's what we're doing.
So overall, you want to find a way of continuously providing some type of source for people that are getting out of prison to reintegrate back into society as well as the workforce with the type of tools that your company provides. Like, what is it that you also provide that helps them with these transitions?
Well, as far as who we try to help, we certainly try to help people who first are released from jail or prison. But there are a lot of other organizations like nonprofits and community organizations and even parole and probation departments that work primarily with people who have just been released. The question is, who's helping the people like myself, who was released years ago? The people who were released 3 years ago, 11 years ago, 20 years ago, these people still have the stigma of a criminal record. It's like they're serving a life sentence even though they've done their time. As long as people can do a Google search and as long as every employer does a background check, it's very, very difficult to put your past behind you. And up until the time we got involved, really nobody was working or helping those people who've been out for a few years. So that's our sweet spot. And what we try to do, because a lot of these folks don't have a lot of experience in finding a job in the traditional legitimate world, so to speak, we try to make it as easy as we can. And one way we do that is we have a job board, but rather than just stick up a posting of a job that's available, we bring the job to the individuals. We do a very sophisticated job of marketing these positions through targeted emails and text message campaigns, telephone calls. We work with 250 local organizations around the country, a lot of social media. So when we have jobs, we get the word out. And that really helps the people. We're not waiting for them to come to us because maybe they're not going to know that they have to do that. So we're taking the first step, and it's working incredibly well. We've managed to get hundreds of people jobs so far, and we've just started. We've only begun our work.
So, what are some of the strategic tactics that 70 million jobs use to get corporate companies to come on board with you?
Well, we're very, very lucky. They say it's better to be lucky than smart. Right now, the country's economy is going pretty well, and unemployment is at a historic low, which means that companies, particularly in certain industries, are having an incredibly hard time just filling the jobs. There supposedly are about 6 million available jobs right now that companies can't fill. So we approach these companies and we let them know that we can give them access to this huge pool of talent that's largely been ignored up until now. Now, these companies, I'm sure many of them probably wouldn't be talking to us if unemployment wasn't so low or the economy wasn't so good. But it is, and they do. And they're very, very eager to hear what we have to say. What we have going for us is not us and the company, it's the clients that we serve, people with records. Studies have shown that people who have records often emerge as the very best hires that a company makes compared to their coworkers who don't have a record. And not
Why
only
is that?
Why is that? Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, people who have records don't take for granted much. And they are very, very appreciative because they know that the employer probably went out on a limb and took a chance on them. And that someone would be willing to take a chance on them. They typically will reward that on the employer's part with their loyalty. And that means that they're going to do a good job, and it also means that they're going to stick around. In the human resource world within a company, the biggest problem they have, not only getting people, but it's in keeping them. People jump around now at a startling rate, particularly at the lower end of the wage scale. If there's a job across the street where they can get paid a nickel more an hour, they're gone. That's what most people do. People with records tend not to do that because, again, they don't necessarily believe that they're going to have so many opportunities or options, and they're right. So as a result, they're looking for a home that they can stay with and grow with, and we hear it all the time. They get their foot in the door, and they get comfortable, and people accept them, and they forget the fact they have a record. They just shine. And what that does to the company, the morale in the company, their coworkers are proud of the employer that they would take a chance and hire someone like that. The community appreciates that the company is a good citizen and is willing to take chances on people and give them a second chance. We're at a time in this country where a lot of the values, and this is my personal opinion at the very least, a lot of values that we've always held sacred, our current administration doesn't seem to consider all that important. But one value we as Americans have, I think, is an understanding that people deserve second chances. And folks who have a record, some of them didn't even have a first chance, much less giving them a second chance. So typically when you meet these people, when you have a chance to actually talk to them, you realize, boy, what a terrible, terrible way to grow up they went through, and yet they still retain their hope and their belief and their desire to do right. They're inspirational. So we're lucky. Strategically, what do we got going for us? The clients we serve are heroes. That's what we've got going for us.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What makes 70 million jobs different from a staffing agency?
Well, we don't really serve as a staffing agency. Staffing agencies operate different ways. Some of them will recruit individuals, and a company will hire them exclusively to fill positions. And then often they'll pay them a certain percentage of the wages that the employees are earning. We operate more like a job board, like Indeed.com or Craigslist or Monster.com. The secret sauce, again, what we do differently is the marketing that we do, which none of those other job boards do, whereby we're going out and we're really aggressively marketing the jobs to our population. The one thing we know, unfortunately, I have a background and I have the experience, and I know lots and lots of people, and I've lived with them, and I've gone through it personally. So I have a sense of what it takes to really kind of move them along. My goal personally is I'm going to get 1 million people jobs. That's my personal goal. And if I do that, I figure there'll be a place in heaven for me. You know, I did things I'm ashamed of. I don't feel shame in what I'm doing now. I have a long way to go until I even the score, but that's what's motivating me.
And I believe you're going to reach that goal.
Thank you.
Richard, what's next for 70 million jobs?
Well, what's very, very interesting is that despite the fact that this population of folks with records, 70 million, which is 1 in 3 adults, 1 in 3 adults is a huge number of people. Despite the size of this population, no one markets or sells them anything. And if you think about it, you know, what do they sell you? What do they sell me? And the answer is nothing. It's almost like we're not there as a group. It kind of reminds me of the way it used to be with women. Women in the up until the 50s and the 60s, they were derided as a class. The thought was they don't make economic decisions. They do what their husband says. They don't make political decisions. Of course, that was all nonsense, and women had their day. And once they did, everyone started recognizing how important they were socially, economically, politically. And companies that recognized that early on made a great deal of money. Well, nobody is aware of this population. I don't think anyone sees it the way I do. I see this as an emerging population. I see the issues of criminal justice becoming more and more in the center of our political discourse, and it's the only thing that Republicans and Democrats can agree on. And I believe that people with records, this population is having its day. I believe it's happening right in front of us. And I think there'll be an opportunity for us at 70 million jobs to not only help with issues regarding employment, but once we get these folks employed, and once we position ourselves in a position of trust and we treat people very, very well. We do it honorably, and we're not in no way a predatory fashion, which is what they're used to. We believe we'll have the opportunity down the road to address other important needs and services that no one else is doing. Things like housing and medical care and banking services. That's when we believe we'll have the opportunity to be a multi-billion-dollar business. Right now we're focused on employment. Down the road, there's lots more that we can be doing, and we'll continue to do it the right way. Just to make it clear, our people, our clients, people who have records, people looking for jobs, they don't pay a penny for any of the service. It's all the corporations that pay for it.
Richard, it sounds like you're doing more than an excellent job. But I have a lot of CEOs who look at my LinkedIn profile. And one of the things that I would like for you to be able to explain to these CEOs, is there a different contact number for those business owners seeking employees versus those seeking employment?
Well, you know something? I get lots and lots and lots of emails, and I love getting them. I get them from people who are in prison, who have the opportunity to send emails, and they're getting out and they want to know what options they may have. I get from their families who are eager to help out their loved ones. And I hear from corporations, the largest corporations, all the time. And to me, I'm not a very important guy, really, and I got plenty of time for everybody. So I would urge anybody who would like to get in touch. If you have an opinion, you have a suggestion, you have a criticism, you don't like the way I comb the little hair I have, I'm at Richard at 70millionjobs.com. Richard at the number 70millionjobs.com. Please let me know what you're thinking. I love to hear from you. If you got suggestions, if you got help, and if you most of all, if you work for a big company that can hire thousands of incredible people, we can help you.
Richard, I want to thank you for not only coming on the show, but I want to thank you for sharing and educating the public what you're doing and how you're doing it and the way you're making a difference, not only in the community, but around the world. It's a pleasure in having you today on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, Terrence.
Thank you. Before we close this deal, we would love to hear from you. If you have suggestions, questions, or even want to apply to be a guest, visit us at www.theclosethedealshow.com. San Francisco Bay Area viewers, you can find us every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. on cable Comcast Channel 29 or online, BAVC Channel 29 around the world. Live shows are aired every second and fourth Wednesday of the month on cable Comcast, local channels, and Channel 76. Worldwide, find the Close the Deal Show on YouTube. Just type my name and click my picture. Please subscribe, like, and comment on your favorite episodes. Take good care, everyone. Don't forget, find the right connections and close the deal. Have a good one.